right, welcome back, folks. Nice to have you with us. So this week we really did see an influx of friendlies that have come in. Let's take a look at some of the friendlies that's coming up this weekend. So here's our first roll of friendlies, and of course, Rocklands and Manenberg Rangers, Tygerberg and Eerste Rivier, Delft and Scottsdene, Violets, Paarl and Titans, Hands and Hearts and Van der Stel, Solarians and Blue Stars, Young People's, Lower Paarl and Primrose and Collegians. Right, so let's quickly take a look at that, Jerome. If you look at some of those fixtures there must be a couple that jump out for you. One of the first ones that jump out for me is the last one that I read there, Collegians and Primrose.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then also Van der Stel in Hands and Hearts.
Van der Stel and Hands and Hearts.
It also looks like a really good one, yeah.
Yeah, so already that's the first batch. Faziel, any that jump out there for you? That
Yeah, I think, early stages, everybody's got hopes and, winning the league and that. I think any game there is going to be tough. I was looking there, Franschhoek, Kelsriver is also going to be a good game. Like Jerome mentioned, Van der Stel, I think that's going to be fantastic for them to measure themselves and see how they fare. So
yeah.
Any game, for me, at the end of the day, like I said earlier on in that, the key is as long as the guys are out there, they're playing, they're enjoying themselves, we're happy.
We've got another batch of friendlies for you. Let's take a look at Albions, Carlamore and Paarl Rangers. Okay, Kraaifontein and Kraaifontein is because there's a Kraaifontein Rugby Day on. Hamadias and SK Warmers, Northerns and Whistling Wheels, Belleville, Macassar, Elsie's and Atlantis. Helderberg has got a Chuckers going on this weekend, and then Peninsula and Silvertree. All right, so I'm already seeing some big ones there. We just saw two of your winners there from the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So Hamadias and SK Warmers,
yeah.
Going to be a big one. I don't know, Jerome, if any more jumped out there for you?
No, that Carlamore.
Carlamore and Paarl Rangers, they're of course, and Allendale and Albion's also in the Paarl region. So a couple of derbies there, in fact. Of course, the Paarl region makes sense. They play against each other in that area, yeah.
No, I think that the Carlamore and Paarl Rangers got a game. Paarl Rangers to measure themselves, and also from Carlamore's side and that. I think the key is, like you mentioned, it's a lot of communities playing against each other and that. And derbies, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. All right, now last batch then of fixtures coming up this weekend. Let's take a look. Villages and UCT, Unimill and Hamlets, False Bay Rangers, Peniel Villages and Vineyards, Hamiltons and Brackenfell. We saw Allendale and Albions, and of course Young Stars and Violets. One of the games that does make sense to me there is, of course, Villages and UCT. We'll talk about that, but Milnerton and Hamlets, Unimill, Hamlets, they're actually not that far from each other.
Yeah. No, what's interesting for me, JP, is also to see with regards to planning. Gone are the days where the coaches, I don't know, Jerome, how does it measure where coaches are saying you don't want to play against a team that plays in the same league? And you're finding the guys playing against each other, Villages, UCT, Brackenfell, Unimill, all these guys playing against the same teams in the same league. But, gone are the days of we're not going to play against guys because they're in the same league.
Yeah, yeah. Jerome, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's a typical example. We were talking about the Varsity Cup. So UCT play with the guys who's probably going to start the league for them, playing against Villages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we were saying. So the varsities are also training and playing for the league.
Yeah. All right, so a lot of friendlies then this weekend, folks. We'll be able to get that for you up and published on our Facebook page, of course on Instagram as well, so you know where to go this weekend. Faziel, let's quickly talk about some of your leadership workshops. This past Wednesday, at least this past Monday, you had a leadership workshop. This is part of your series on good governance. Your next one being on governance itself, and then following that, you'll be looking at financial planning. But the start, your first one, off to a good success.
No, JP, it was amazing to see the amount of people that attended that workshop. I mean, from start to finish, numbers didn't decrease because people were, bored. It increased. I mean, we were sitting with over 71 people at attendance.
Yeah.
And I think it was fantastic also to see, diverse group of clubs that we had. So I think the discussion we had earlier on, about the role and function of individual people, I think, in terms of what we've put together is basically to assist and help the club to identify those people and make sure they attend the workshops, identify those roles and that there. So the next workshop, I think, next week, Monday, It's going to be another good session. And I think what's great, why we have a lot of people attending, is also because it's online. So we start at 7, we finish at 8 on the dot, not more than an hour. There's a bit of interaction, questions and that there. So those clubs who didn't attend this past weekend, I strongly advise them to attend this coming weekend. And, if there's any questions, make sure.
Yeah, and of course, when you join an organization, like for example, a club joins a union, there's also certain elements of compliance. You must know what you need to do, which meetings you must attend, what the competition rules are. So important that your leadership, your executive committees understand their obligations to retain their membership.
100%. I think it's again the leadership within the club structure that needs to understand what is required with regards to taking a club forward. And I mean, some of the feedback that we receive, guys asking about strategic, sort of planning and that there. And I think that's something that we got to look at. When you look at a club, it's not just come on a Saturday, play the game. It's off the field planning that we need to do from a coaching perspective. What is the plan? What does he need to put in place? Workshops that Jerome has, who needs to attend. It's not just the first team, second, third team. So I think we've got a jam-packed, and I think also everything's going to be built around the feedback that we receive from clubs. What is it that you would like us, to focus on and how we can help?
Jerome, from a on-field perspective, if your leadership structure, your executive committee is not organized, if the admin is falling apart, then it makes life very difficult for a coach.
Yeah, it's basically disastrous. If you don't have, like Faziel say, if you don't have that in place, and one good thing is everybody knows their roles and they take their responsibility on their roles.
Yeah.
But it's so important from the top to guide and to just have that right leadership and know what everybody is doing.
Yeah. Your next workshop is, in fact, today, Faziel, is on safeguarding. This is one of the, and just for the folks that are maybe watching us now, safeguarding, folks, when we're talking about safeguarding, we're not talking about medics, we're not talking about fire extinguishers and electrical things. Safeguarding is specific to harassment and abuse of vulnerable individuals. And it's a national policy that all sports structures must comply with. So you don't need to explain that anymore, Faziel, because it's not your choice.
Yeah.
It is something that in the world of sport in South Africa is not negotiable. Everybody has to do it. It is national policy for all sport. You guys are doing your first workshop now on safeguarding, and already you're seeing a lot of people putting up their hand to say that they will be the safeguarding representative at their club.
No, 100%. I think from our side, it's the rollout plan that we're putting in place, how we're going to get it out there. And I think the key thing is the communication that the clubs, like you said, the importance of it. It's not coming from the union or SA Rugby, it's coming from national. And I think the one thing that we've done is, Denzel is driving it, putting a lot of pressure on him. So we've got the champions of the clubs. And I think, again, we're so fortunate here in the Cape with the administrators that we have at the clubs. The guys are very understanding. They champion it. They're driving it. So the rollout for now is identifying the champion. And then from there is disseminating everything down to who needs to get it. From the coaches to the administrators to whoever else that's dealing with those vulnerable. So everybody has an understanding of what needs to be in place.
The key, though, is exactly what you've just said, understanding. Because it's fine to have one person certified.
Yeah.
But if nobody else at your clubs knows what their rights are, how to report an incident, how to, then the policy really falls flat. So that broad awareness of making sure that moms and dads and parents and coaches and players all understand what safeguarding is, and that if they feel harassed or abused or uncomfortable at any stage on all these different elements, that they've got a safeguarding officer to go to.
Yeah.
So the awareness is probably 99% of the work.
100%. From the officer side, it's again how to roll it out. How are we going to get it out there? How are we going to get it out to the players? Like you mentioned, it's easy one person having understanding, but the players and everybody else don't know. In terms of identifying what exactly it is.
Yeah.
So I think that's our next step. The first point, the champion. The second point is going to be the rollout. Then we're going to look at the DSO, designated safety officer in the regions. Basically, if there's any issues or any problems in that there's people that you can't contact directly on that there. So it's just understanding what the process is, what you need to do.
Folks, we're going to be talking about that in the weeks to come so that you, as a player, as a fan, as a parent, you understand your rights in terms of harassment and abuse at the club and how to be able to report it. Faziel, just a last question on your side. You've got the under-19 competition coming up, but although we could probably cover that next week.
Yeah, so just quickly, I think it's important maybe we just mention it. So we had some workshops regarding under-19. So with club rugby, we're looking at the numbers, we're looking at growth, we're looking at how to create that link between school and club. So with under-19, basically from club rugby side, the junior clubs will now be under-19. So if you play under-19, you'll fall under club rugby senior, similar to we have with the under-20. And, you know, if you've got school and you're playing in the schools league, we'll basically be under 18 and down. So if you've got a matric certificate, basically, and you finish school, you got to play under 19, basically. But I think the key thing is just about creating that hype and vibe, and the feedback that we received from the clubs that attended the workshop was great, positive. I think the idea is, you know, we're having festivals, having it one evening. So we're going to look at how to grow club rugby and how to create that link. So guys leaving school, they know exactly where they can go, where they can sign up on.
Fantastic stuff. Right, folks. Well, so much to talk about. We'll leave it at that. Jerome, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to some good rugby this weekend.
Yeah, probably going to watch one or two of these friendlies, with a couple of good games, yeah.
Yeah, and Faziel, thanks to you as well. It's been great to have you in the studio and so much to learn.
Yeah, thanks a lot, JP, and yeah, thanks to the listeners, and all the best for this weekend to everyone playing.
Yep, all very exciting. Right, folks, that's a wrap from us this evening. We'll see you again next week. Same time, same place. Have a fantastic rugby weekend. Bye-bye.